Hi, I'm Noah. This is Community Classroom Yoga. Again with me, Cameron and Nicole. Today we'll work a little bit more towards some stability and strength in the legs. We might quite often think of coming to a practice, thinking about just coming in and getting flexible, but that flexibility, especially in the joints and whatnot, the flexibility is going to grow rather as the joints and the musculature helps to stabilize a little bit. So let's just start and close your eyes and stand up nice and tall. And just find a few deep breaths. Just feeling in these first few breaths of the torso wanting to lift and get a bit fuller. The weight of the legs sinking a bit heavier. Especially for those first few moments, it's really settled into that more stable aspect, that place that allows us to move more freely without running into a place of maybe injury. And more stable and stronger, we'll be able to do more things. Not just on our mats, but really support our everyday life. Yeah, the eyes can stay soft, but just a few breaths. You can sweep the arms up and overhead as you inhale. And exhale to lower, just a few times up and down. Just feeling every time that the arms lift up, they're bringing maybe the torso a little higher. As the arms lower, keep that lift in the chest. Good. One more breath here. The next time that you exhale, let's bring the hands to the hips. Good. And squeeze the elbows together, draw the head back. So there's a little bit more of a back bend in the spine. Big inhale. As you exhale, start to bow forward. As you bow forward, you might start to want to round. So as soon as you get to that rounding, pause, inhale, come back up. So just up and down. Exhale to bow, inhale to lift. The spine wants to start to round out of that more feeling of a back bend. Reach the hips back, like the fronts of your thighs and bum want to move way to the back of your mat. And as you go lower, keep working to squeeze the elbows inward to keep a bit more charge. Good. One more breath here. Exhale, you can bow forwards. And as you inhale, you can sweep the arms up as you come to standing. Good. Arms can come overhead. And then exhale, hands to the side. Good. Step your feet right together. So if you look down at your feet, we'll start to lift up off the heels. So do like a tippy toe raise. Tendency is for the shins and the heels to maybe want to come apart. Create this feeling of wanting to draw the fronts of the shins together, squeeze the heels together. You can press down a bit more through the inner big toe edge of the foot. Muscularly lift a little bit more through the pinky edge. So they don't want to roll out. They feel like they want to roll in a bit more. Good. Full breath. And then as you exhale again, release your heels, close the eyes or soften them. Just stand tall a breath or two. Good. The eyes can open. Shift your weight into your left leg. Let's start to lift up. The right tippy toes can come onto the ground. They can start to hover. If balance feels good, you can hold the back of your thigh. You can hold your knee. Work to keep that big toe edge rooted, that outer shin a bit more active or lifting up. That'll help to make the ankle more stable, which will keep the body from falling around. You can imagine, especially if we start to get a bit wobbly, how much easier everything will be once we're very easy to stand and move quite freely. Good. Take a moment. This lifted right leg, as you exhale, release it down and maybe about a foot or two behind you. Hands can come back to the hips. So same like we did before. Squeeze the elbows back, draw the head back. Big inhale, lift up. Exhale, hinge forward. Doesn't have to be a big motion. It might just be a little bit up and down. Notice that moment where you start to round. As soon as you come there, ease off and come back up. So again, as much as we want to open the body, this is much of a practice of awareness, starting to notice where our shape changes. And for at least for our purpose today, allowing the openness or the freedom maybe one would associate with the yoga practice to come from a bit more of an engagement or a capacity to move physically through a range of motion from a bit more strength and support. Good. One more breath. Next time that you come up as you inhale, you can step the right foot forward. Again, both feet together. Pause for a moment, and then lift up onto your tippy toes. As you get that lift, muscularly draw inwards. Work to come higher in the heels without falling around or letting the legs come apart. Good. Full breath. And then release the heels to the ground. Same thing. Take a moment and then shift your weight into your right leg. You can start to work to draw up to the left tippy toes. Foot might start to hover. You might start to hold the thigh or shin. If you fall out, just coming back. A few deep breaths. Good. Full breath here. And then as you exhale again, release that lifted left leg back about a foot or two, about the same as the other side. Hands to the hips. Big inhale. Squeeze the elbows, draw the head back. Create a bit more of a back bend, and then hold that back bend in the spine as you bow forwards. The more you bow forwards, the more you can think about reaching the hips back, or imagine you can reach the hips back more over that back left heel. Good. This nice long spine so that the shoulders don't drop below the chest. Good. One more time. As you inhale and rise up your next breath, let's step forward. Both feet together. Good. One more time here. Feet together, lift up onto your tippy toes. Squeeze in. Draw the shins right together. Just feeling a muscularly lifting up more on the outer shins and ankles. Good. Full breath. As you exhale, let's release the heels to the ground. Big inhale, arms up and overhead. And as you exhale, let's start to bow forward. Hands can come to the thighs, the shin towards the ground. Just bow forwards. First one, maybe a little bit more of a bend in the knees. As the knees bend a bit forward, it'll give you some space to draw the groins back. Good. Soft knees, let the head hang. Pause a moment. Good. Let's take one breath. And then hands back to the hips. Find that back bend. Squeeze the elbows together. Rise up to standing. Big inhale. Good. Release the hands as you exhale. Good. Stand tall a moment. So even though the heels aren't lifting, root the balls of the feet. Start to get more stable right from the way we connect into the ground. Good. Arms overhead. Big inhale. And then bring the hands to the back of your head as you exhale. Good. So lift the belly. Lift the ribs up nice and tall. Let's side bend to the left. So there's a nice long stretch to your right side body. Good. Even though you're in there, you can kind of lift in and out as the breath rises and falls. Good. Inhale. Come back to center. Pause for the exhale. Get a little taller as you inhale, and then exhale over to the other side. Even as you come in, you can pulse in and out. The hips compress one way. You can draw the chest the other. Good. Full breath here. As you inhale, come back up. Reach the arms up. And then bring your hands to the hips as you exhale. Good. So take a moment. And then we're going to turn to the left. You're going to step your left foot back. So we'll face the long side of our mats. You can turn both toes there. And you might need to play the distance between the legs, but ideally if you were to take your hands out, the feet would be roughly about hand, wrist distance wide. Good. Hands to the hips, find a little back bend. Big inhale, and then reach the hips back. Start to bow. Take that moment again like we did before, where you start to round, and then release the hands to the thighs, shin or towards the ground. Good. Full breath here. And the next time that you inhale, let's bring your hands to the hips again. Rise up to standing. So as you come up to standing, stay here, but turn your right toes back forward to the front of your mat. You might need to adjust your feet depending, but let's start to bend into the right knee. If you feel that your knee's coming way over the toes, come out, wiggle the feet a little wider. If your knee feels like it's buckling in, roll it open. Either way, just sit down into that front thigh a few moments. The feeling that right where the thigh meets the hip, you want to settle straight down. As you sit down, up that front side of the body, the right side, get a little taller, get a little bit more lifted as the belly draws up. Good. As is, or for the last breath, you could bring your hands up at shoulder height, reach over the right fingertips with the gaze. Good. Take a breath here. As you exhale, let's stretch the right leg straight. Hands to the hips if they're lifted. Turn the right toes in. Good. Take a moment. And then turn your left toes back to face the back of the mat. Good. Same thing. Take a breath here. Right at that hip crease as you exhale, start to bend down. Roll the knee open so it doesn't buckle in. And if the knee starts to come way over the toes, come out. Make your distance a little wider. Good. So it'd be a bit harder here, but even in these positions, keep rooting the big toes and charging the outer shin muscles like we did in that tippy toe. So there's this feeling of muscularly drawing up into the chest as much as there's a sinking down. Good. Full breath here. And then exhale. Stretch the legs straight. Turn the toes in. Both feet can face the left again. Same thing. Draw your hands to the hips. Big inhale. Lift up. Exhale. Bow forwards towards a full forward fold. Good. Take a moment and then release the hands all the way towards the ground. You might not get there, that's fine. You might end up staying on the thighs, but there's the direction. Good. Take a moment here. And then bring your hands to the hips. Rise back up to standing. Good. Right toes can turn back to the top of your mat. Step your left toes up to meet them. Good. Take a breath here, and then draw your legs and feet right together. Take the arms out in front of you. Big inhale, and then just start to bend into the knees. As soon as you start to overarch or feel like you're bowing forward, just pause. Just settle a little bit. Sit down straight at the hip crease. If this feels good with the arms, they could always come up and overhead. They don't have to. Good. Take a breath here. And then inhale, let's rise up to standing. Exhale, release the hands. Again, just close your eyes, stand tall for a moment. Especially for the big joint of the hip, as the legs start to get a bit stronger. Not necessarily all the big muscles, but the little fine-tuning muscles that'll stabilize in the ankle and the hip. They really help for a lot of movement and openness. Good. Open the eyes, big inhale. Sweep the arms overhead. Hands to the back of the head as you exhale. Nice and tall, lift up, and then side bend to the right. Nice long stretch to the left side body. As you side bend, lift as much up the back of the body as you might want to lift in the chest. Good. Inhale through center. Pause for the exhale, get taller, and then over the other direction. Even though there's quite a big opening on one side and shift on the other, draw the ribs like the whole body wants to side bend or side shift. Good. Full breath. And then come up as you inhale. Stretch your arms up. Hands to the hips as you exhale. Good. Step your right foot back. Turn again. Face that wide leg forward fold. Good. Take a moment. Then same thing. Charge the legs up and let's bow down. Little bend in the knees, if it helps, if you're very tight, to get the groins back. Good. And then inhale. Hands back to the hips if they've come down. Rise up. Good. Take a moment, and then we'll go the other way. Turn your left toes to the front of your mat. Same thing. Take a moment, and then bend into your left knee. Bring your left elbow to your knee. Take a moment, reach the hips back, look forward, extend the chest forward, and then reach the right hand right to the gaze, straight up. And then exhale, you can start to curl open. Keep working to sink into the front thigh. Actively reach out through the hand. Good. Keep the legs low as you inhale. Come back up to that first position, warrior two, hands out. Exhale, stretch the left leg straight. Hands can come to the hips, or if you want, they could stay lifted. Either way, transition through your wide leg forward fold. Turn the right toes to the back of your mat. Bend into the right knee. Take a breath, and then drop right elbow to knee. Reach the left arm overhead. Big inhale. Exhale, twist the chest open towards the ceiling as you sit down into the hips. Good. Full breath. And again, come back up to the torso. Keep low in the legs, warrior two. Exhale, stretch the legs straight. Turn your right toes in as you bring the hands to the hips. Big inhale, lift up. And then exhale, bow forwards to a full forward fold. Good. Hang heavy for a moment. And then bring the hands to the hips. Rise back up to standing. Turn your left toes forward. Step up to the top of the mat. Good. Take a moment. And then feet and knees together again. Arms out in front of you. Big inhale. Exhale, sit down. Squeeze in a lot at the shins. Hands in front, or they can rise up. Good. Full breath. And then inhale, rise up. Release the hands as you exhale. Again, just close your eyes, stand tall a few moments, pause. Especially as the breath might be a little bit more active from a bit of the extra leg work. Let it. Let the work in the practice, not to pull us out and get racy and unstable, but to be a means of centering us and coming back in. Good. Full breath here. As the eyes open. Shift our weight into our right leg. Same thing, up to the left tippy toes. Or start to work to hold on to the back of the thigh or at the knee. You've all out, just coming back up. Good, so stay as you are. Let your left hand keep holding your left knee. Bring your right hand to the front of your right hip. The right hip's going to want to push forward. So imagine your right hip's not going to move at all. Start to open your left knee out to the left a little bit. If the right hip moves and the knee buckles in, that's where we're going to start to find some misalignment in the legs. We're going to be kind of unstable. Good. Take a moment here. As you inhale, draw the knee back to center. Pause. If you fall out here, come back right to where you are. And then switch hands. Left knee can be held by the right hand. Left hand to the hip. As is, or you could start to twist slowly and look over your left shoulder. Again, the more you start to twist, the more we try to move or find freedom, the less we pull out of our stability. So we start to find that very subtle strength at the ankles and the hips. Good. Come back to center as you inhale. Take a moment, pause. Then release the leg. Good. Close your eyes. Again, just let the body recalibrate, readjust. Good. And as you're ready to, you can open the eyes and shift your weight into your left foot. Draw the right knee up. Good. Work to draw it to the hands. If you find you lose balance again, we can always bring the toe out to the side and still hover it. It doesn't need to be all the way up. Let's work with where we're at. Good. Working to maintain the stability. Left hand to the front of the thigh. Right hand can guide the knee open to the right. And the more we look for this idea of freedom and openness, the more we come back to becoming stable, especially in the joints. We don't want to run into any tearing or ligament damage. Good. Come back to center. Take that moment. Even if you come out, come back in. And then switch the hands. Left hand to the right knee, right hand to the hip, and work to twist. We'll revolve from the belly, then the chest, shoulders, and gaze. You can come last. Good. One more breath. Same thing. Come back to center. Take that moment, pause, find your balance from the untwisting, and then release the foot. Close the eyes. A few deep breaths, stand tall. Good. Let's take a breath here. And the eyes can open. Big inhale, sweep the arms overhead. Exhale, bring the palms into the chest. And sit down as if sitting into a chair. Okay, so just like we've done before. This time, you can come back to this position, but let's start by opening the hands up and bringing our right hand to our left knee. So exhale, round down a little bit. Once you round down, if you can't come back to more of a neutral spine, then don't come down any farther. We want to be able to find a back bend. If we come down a twist and we're all rounded, come off a little bit. If you feel like you can get to the elbow without being super rounded, palms can come back together. Either way, let's twist. Draw the shoulders back and work to keep the knees squared. The right knee is going to need to move back. You can sit a little bit more into your left hip. Good. Take a breath. And as you inhale, untwist, rise up to standing. Hands can come to the hips. Step your right foot back about a foot or two. Good. Take a moment. And then that left hip, move the hips back like we did before. Bow forward until it feels like you want to start to round. And then instead of rounding, pause a moment, reach the hips back. And when you're ready to, if you want, the hands can stay on the hips so they can come down the thighs. And you can bow right down to a forward fold. As much or as little as you like. As much as the torso comes down, though, keep drawing the left hip back, which might find that the tippy toe, the inner edge of the foot, wants to lift off from that tippy toe action. So keep pushing the big toe down. Good. One more breath here. Then hands to the hips. Let's rise back up to standing. Step your right foot forward, pause, both feet together. Good. Take a moment. And then arms overhead, big inhale. Exhale, let's bring the palms into the chest. Sit down as if sitting into a chair. So again, you can choose. If you know you're coming right to the elbow, go ahead. If you know it was more wrist or forearm, come back to about the same distance. Again, less is more if the spine feels that it can be lengthened. If you get super rounded, you're just going to grind in the vertebrae. Instead, let's start to build the legs in a way that they can be strong to support this lift and freedom, that we don't get kind of dropped down by the weight of the world and gravity pulling on us. Good. Inhale. Come up. Hands to the hips. Step the left foot back, the same distance as the right foot was. Good. Again, take that moment. Square the hips. So even though you're not in that tippy toe position, root the inner feet, scissor into midline, bow forwards. As you start to bow, you might want to round. Fall out. As you do that, draw the hips back, pull the spine through. And as you get there, hands can come down to the thigh, the shin, or the ground, and bow right down. Even though you're rounding down, though, keep moving the front hip back, as if the right side of the body, like when we did those side bendings, that side's getting longer. Good. Take a breath. And then let's bring the hands to the hips again. Rise back up. Step your back foot forward. Pause a moment. Good. Full breath here. And then let's sweep the arms overhead. Big inhale. Exhale, bow forwards to a full forward fold. Bend the knees enough to bring the fingertips to the ground, and then step to all fours. Open the knees up and settle into child's pose. I was feeling the hips are going to sink back to the heels. Knees wide enough that there's space for the ribs and spine to settle through. And just pause. I was feeling because the knees are wider, the low back and the hips can broaden out a little bit. Even though it might not totally feel like that. Just settle a moment or so. ready in your next breath or so. Just one time. Let's come up to all fours. Tuck your toes under. Bring your hands to your hips like you're standing on your knees. Good. So squeeze the inner thighs active. Lift up in the chest and just move your hips a bit forward. Draw your head back. Just a little back bend here. Lift the front of the belly up out of the front of the thighs. Good. Full breath. And then let's come back up. Hands to the ground. You can spin your feet around, and let's come down to seated. Yeah, both legs can stretch out in front of you. If you feel tucked under, slide the hips back. Sit nice and tall. And then let's cross our right ankle over our left knee. Plant the foot on the ground. Good. So sit up nice and tall. Hug in a little bit. Left hand can hold the right knee, right hand behind you. When you bring the right hand behind you, if you feel round in the low back, use those fingertips to help lift you up a little taller. Good. Take a full breath. Sit the hips down, lift the spine up. Good. As you inhale, come back to center. Keep the right hand behind you and bring the left hand back, and just let your right knee fall open. Good. Lean back into your hands and start to bend your left knee. The spine will want to round, so push in your hands, lift the chest. Just a breath or so here. Good. And the next time that you exhale, stretch both legs out in front of you, sit tall a moment. Good. Full breath, and then let's switch sides. Cross the left foot over the right knee, plant the foot to the ground. Use your hand, sit up nice and tall. Right hand can continue to hold the knee, bring the left hand behind you. Let's revolve and twist. Good. Take a breath or two more. And then let's untwist, bring the hands behind you. Roll the knee open, bend the knee, sit up nice and tall. Just a breath or so. And as you're ready to, let's stretch the legs out in front of us and come on to your backs. Yeah, this is finishes our time, but any last little movements you want, otherwise just settle heavy, close your eyes and relax into Shavasana. Namaste.